Welcome back to Y2K and the excellent so far sewer level.
Well, it certainly will qualify as a memorable one, I think, but for very bad reasons.
It has crack and combat.
And a copiously locked door.
3 of them, actually.
Mm-hmm.
They were very particular about this locked door. They really did not want me to get in here. Unfortunately, we're just too good at this game. It's a cross I'm willing to bear.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Discount Starman looks like he's having a depressive episode right in front of us.
Oh,
no, I think he
Rory,
just hit Super Saiyan 3.
Wrong. So wrong.
Can't you see her too? That's my sister. That's Carrie.
Oh shit! It's an entity! We need to get the hell out of here!
Wait. We need to remain calm. We need to try and talk to him.
I don't know if this is one of these
Carrie,
Sixth Sense
Carrie,
things
I
where,
brought some friends.
you know, he's the only
Alex,
one who can
Michael,
see
and Bella.
Bruce Willis.
They're gonna help us.
Rory, that isn't your sister.
I mean, alright, so he's clearly under the effects
Shut up.
of some kind of illusion.
That's
He is
Carrie.
very insistent on it, which again
Can't you
kind of
feel it?
backs up the
So
idea that he is
familiar.
in the middle of
I
some
can
kind
prove
of
it.
breakdown.
Yeah,
She
well, the Dutch
understands what
angle
I'm
from last
feeling,
episode
what I'm
backs that
thinking.
up.
I've never been this close to anyone. Trust me, it's her.
Rory.
And now he's crossed the
That's
line
not
into some
Carrie.
kind of obsession.
Yeah, this is
Rory.
really weird.
That's you.
Okay, that was a swerve.
What? What the hell are you talking about?
My god, it's full of me!
That's your soul survivor. Your spirit. Your
Oh no, a
consciousness.
proper noun just got introduced.
How can that be? I'm right here.
Bella, what the hell is going on? You need to explain this.
I don't think she does, dude. It's
Rory,
not gonna
what
get
really
better.
happened to your sister?
No, I mean, we'll get there.
Something about your story doesn't
Okay.
add up. Let me hear the truth.
At least, that's what
Rory,
Bella
please.
thinks.
I'm here to help you. Did your sister really vanish?
No, she jumped off the overpass.
Oh, okay, so he's repressing
Rory,
a terrible
that's-
memory.
That's terrible.
Which is a completely reasonable thing to do
Why
under the
did she
circumstances.
do it?
Right.
What the hell
But
kind of
what
question
that
is
has to do with the
was
game
those
up to
bastards
this
at
point
school.
is...
Stupid shitty
I
girls
don't know
always
yet.
ragging on her, going out of their way to make her feel bad, picking on her for being my sister. Ugh! This is all my fault. It's all because of me, because of what I'm like. You know?
I don't think
How
it's
did
ever
you find
actually
this place,
elaborated
Rory?
on what that
When
means.
did you first see your soul survivor?
It was 2 weeks after she died. I found her things. I came down there thinking she fell down or something. I don't know. And then I thought about dying too. I wanted to die. I needed to get away from this world. I needed to find her.
But you knew she was dead, didn't you?
Of course. But
It's okay. You can tell me. I'm not judging anything you say here. Tell me all of it.
I surrendered myself to the ether. To the realm outside of this one.
So what this really brings into
You know what I'm
question
talking
is
about.
why Bella isn't the
Don't you, Bella?
protagonist.
No,
I do.
Bella's the only competent
Go
one
on.
so far.
What happened when you left your body?
Also, frankly, I think Bella
I
would
didn't
just
get
be a
far.
more
I
interesting
separated from my
protagonist.
physical form,
Absolutely.
and then I saw my body and my sister.
The fact that she's actually
saved
got
me.
some experience with what's happening
Did you
here,
leave
and the
the
fact
Earth?
that it's, you know, she
I was so
obviously
close.
still had to start
I
from
was
the
so
same
far
place
away.
of being alone
When I
and
saw it.
encountering things like this
The soul
means that,
survivor.
well, there's
The
actually a
entity.
hook there.
Whatever the hell you called it.
Rory, please listen to me carefully. You left your body when you
Bella
surrendered
is the
yourself
only
to your
person
misery.
here who really seems
You
to get
abandoned
Rory,
this
and I think
physical
it's...
form.
I don't know, does
And
the
your soul
implication
is
that it's
about
because
to
she
enter
wanted to
the
die
soul
at some
space.
point, does that
But what
does
you
that
saw
sit badly with
was
you, or is
not
that
your
just me?
sister.
I mean,
That soul over there is not
the
hers.
understanding that
It
she's
is
come to
yours.
is clearly the result of some kind
I've
of,
traveled the soul
well,
space, and I
perhaps
understand what I am
similarly
seeing
traumatic
when I look at
experience
the
on her
entities.
part. Or actually, no,
I
we
see
know
the
that it's a
marks of
traumatic
your
experience
soul,
on her part
and I
because
can
she
tell
described
you
it
that
earlier
that
to
is another
Michael and
you.
Alex.
For what reason
Somewhere
I can't
out there in
fathom,
the
but
soul
yes, she
space,
did.
this
Yeah,
you
because I think
left
she was
his
trying to
world
explain this
and
exact
stumbled on yours.
situation to them.
That's you.
You
from
may
another
notice
plane.
that's pretty dense, so she's still talking about it.
It's likely it was experiencing the same suffering as you.
And to this game's remarkable credit, she
understand.
actually seems to be adopting a different voice when she's talking to
Bella,
Rory
can you
about
please
this.
explain what's going on
Yeah,
here?
no, that's actually one of the things that I like about Bella here. It's
Pain
like
is inevitable.
she has the ability to
Suffering
act like a real
optional.
person and respond to what
I
other people are
understand what you
doing.
were feeling. This depression is unbearable. I can't take it anymore.
Don't get me wrong, this dialogue is still stilted as hell,
The
but
depression pain part is an unavoidable reality. But whether or not you can overcome it is up to you. You decide if you're going to keep going. Your sister is gone,
What
There's no
probably
changing
lens
that.
more to the
but traveling the soul space is
unintentional
incredibly
comedy of this
dangerous.
scene is the
And if
fact
you're
that
not
Alex
careful,
keeps
you'll end
cutting
up like
in,
him.
asking for further explanation.
You can't help but feel the
he's the
pain,
guy in the
but you
background
can
just
get
going,
through the
oh my
suffering.
god, what's
That
going
will
on?
Go away. Look, I know it's easy for me to say. I'm not the one whose sister is dead. But you have to understand that I am telling you the true reality of the situation. You're playing with some otherworldly dangers here. Oh no. Is that...
Oh no, it's
Guys, we need to run!
it's immunity explosion
Bella, will you
effects.
tell me what the hell is going on? What is all this about?
I think it's a golden alpaca. Damn
What?
it, we need to run! Come on, let's get out of here!
All right.
I was expecting a lot of things to come through that portal, but that wasn't one of them.
And it's our boss fight.
It is our boss. And he is actually a particularly irritating boss because he has the ability to summon soul sparks.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, he also plays your favorite off-tempo jazz track.
All right, well, let's see where this goes, I guess.
Well, I'm going to use the panda barrier trick because it hasn't let me down so far.
Yeah. So, there's also something I'd like to bring up regarding the combat, and specifically Rory's place in it.
My reality!
You mean his lack thereof?
Okay, I don't think we've seen this attack before.
No, this is Bella's Banish, and unfortunately it's a mini-game that I'm very bad at because there's no feedback.
Ah. Yeah, you seem to be playing a very weird bullet hell game.
Yes, and the best part of it is, even though there's no feedback to it, even if you fail, you still have to watch the cutscene as if you won, so that just kind of wastes more of your time.
Right. So what I was getting at in terms of Rory's place in this combat is, I was talking earlier about how I kind of like the idea of an RPG character who doesn't have offensive moves just as a theoretical exercise in trying to balance parties differently. But again, it's one of those things where the more I think about it, the less sense it makes. Because, well, in looking at RPGs, how do you actually advance combat? By doing damage. And preventing damage from going to your characters is certainly something valuable in terms of enabling them to continue attacking and not have to spend turns healing or taking defensive actions themselves. But when you have a character who's taking up a spot in an RPG party, who can perform only that function even in circumstances where it would otherwise be more advantageous for him to attack, that's actually kind of a flaw in the balance of the character from the perspective of someone who's just trying to get through one fight after another. If we get another character that we really have to question, unless this game really gets to a point where the damage coming to the party is so great that we need to have someone really dedicated to defense, whether his spot in the party is actually justified when he could be replaced by someone who has the potential to do damage.
No, I absolutely agree with you. why should I have somebody who has the ability to do no damage and be a tank when I can have a tank who can also do damage where it's appropriate?
And the fact that Panda Barrier exists certainly invalidates a significant portion of that, considering if you just keep feeding Alex PP that you can essentially have a perfect defense up forever.
Exactly. You know what this strikes me kind of like, you know, talking about 3.x before? It's kind of like how the druid's first level animal companion is a better fighter than the first level fighter. So, you know, there's just no reason to play a fighter.
Yeah. Also, that was absolutely a draw. I don't know what this game's problem is.
This game hates me. This game has active contempt for me playing it. Anyway, back to the point with Rory. You know, there are ways to make a pacifist character work in battle to various degrees of, you know, competence. One that kind of comes to mind as far as retro RPGs go is actually Edward from Final Fantasy IV, if you remember him, the Spoony Bard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good example of a pacifist character. He couldn't fight, he couldn't attack, but he had a hell of a lot of support buffs.
Actually, he could attack depending on the version you were looking at, and in some cases actually had some pretty significant offensive potential. What is he doing?
This fight just got weirdly homoerotic.
I mean, ordinarily I wouldn't object to that, but I'm, again, not seeing what motivates it.
Me either. There's no connection that I can draw between Golden Alpaca absorbing soul survivors and him getting weirdly buff.
To say nothing of the fact that his manifestation as an example of Rory's trauma seems, well, inappropriate to say the least.
I don't think that's the point here. I think this is just a case of, like, really unfortunate timing, you know what I mean? Because we're not fighting Rory's soul survivor.
Alex!
We're not fighting the Rory Prime or whatever. We're fighting the Golden Alpaca that I guess decided to come kick our shit in. And the weird thing about it is that if you actually pay attention to the dialogue, there's nothing here that actively explains what a golden alpaca is. My guess is, like, did you ever see the movie It? Either the remake or the one from, like, way back when?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. Well, for those of you who haven't seen It, I'm going to spoil it for you, so mute this part. But basically, this is just one of these things where it's like, I think the golden alpaca is supposed to represent some kind of, like, horrible cosmic entity that's so fundamentally messed up and wrong that it can only be sort of, like, filtered by your brain into this form that you can handle. You know what I mean? Like a very Lovecraftian way of doing things. The thing is, like, I can't resolve that back to whatever kind of awfulness a golden alpaca could possibly be. You know what I mean?
Right. That said, if it's trying to mask some type of severe existential horror like that, I'm not convinced that this character model we see of this buff alpaca-headed dude dancing around is really the best way to get that sensation across.
When I look at this character, I don't see existential crisis. This golden alpaca seems like a pretty happy guy.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Honestly, I don't know what his problem with us is.
He's even got groupies.
In limitless supply, no less.
Oh, hey, Rory.
Very good.
That was like the second time this campaign that actually worked.
Back to fixing Rory in terms of his functioning as a character, we can say that if the objective of a party is to do damage, even if Rory doesn't contribute directly to that, there's a decent possibility that he could have an option to contribute even very indirectly. For instance, say if he did something that dropped an opponent's defenses, for instance. Or maybe, you know, actually buffed the attack of another character. It's a pretty straightforward way to just approach something that would make another character a bit more useful in these circumstances.
Yeah, and one of the things I mentioned is Rory does have one other move that lets him do something besides swap his PP and HP values. It allows him to lower the enemy's luck, which, like, yes, it's technically a buff, but unless they already have base 100 luck because they're playing on 5th level Darkest Dungeon rules, why would you do that?
Again, that's only something that decreases their offensive potential, not really increases the party's offensive potential.
Yes, if Rory had the ability to give me free all divides or something, maybe that would be useful. But right now, every function that Rory has is completely obviated by Alex's Panda Barrier because, of course, Alex gets to be the best character.
Also, Alpaca seems to be getting increasingly... Okay, I can sort of see the idea you were getting at earlier, because the golden alpaca is certainly getting increasingly distorted as this wears on, it seems.
Yes, he's becoming a golden satyr, if anything. Yeah, I bet if I just left this for a while, I would eventually come back, like, 10 turns later. Like, I'd probably come back and he would actually be pretty scary. But, like, every time he gets one of his... I don't know, every time he transitions to his next form, I think what's supposed to be happening here is that he actually gets, like, a huge power buff. But maybe I'm just too good at minigames, because I'm not really feeling that.
The thing is, he doesn't seem to be using too much of his time just performing attacks. He's actually spending a significant amount of time just summoning additional soul survivors into the fight, and they may or may not get a turn based on the actions of the rest of your party.
I mean, that's the thing about the soul survivor gimmick in this fight. Only one person in this fight has the ability to banish soul survivors, and we're looking at her. So, it seems like if they wanted to, this fight could be nigh unwinnable because he could just continue spawning soul survivors at a rate that I couldn't possibly deal with because I literally don't have the skills to do that, right?
Right.
So, I think this is one of these things where the devs, like, gave this to somebody and said, yeah, this is completely unwinnable. And they just sort of patched it in and completely neutered the rest of the fight because they didn't actively think about being an action counter.
That said, the soul survivors themselves don't seem to be doing a heck of a lot of damage, so...
No, they're not. It's really weird to me because, you know, they set up the soul survivors to be these total badasses, right? And I still can't attack them even though, like, the boss is dead. So I still have to go another 2 turns to let Bella banish him, which is, you know, that's good game design. It's not like I've accomplished the objective here. Oh, oops. Nope, I guess I have to go 3 rounds because I lost that time.
I'm hoping that the solution then is that at some point someone else learns banishment, but...
That's what I thought. You know, how dare I look at this fight and say, this is obviously something where Bella's supposed to carry the fight and they'll give me another tool to deal with it later, right?
Right.
That's not an unreasonable thing to think as a player of this RPG, which routinely seems to enjoy wasting my time, but...
Yeah, if anything, what I think, outside of the possibility that banishment just continually failing and causing you to run out of PP and tools to restore it, rendering it unwinnable, it's really just something where, again, the boss fight seems to have been developed around a sense of tedium rather than a sense of tension.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've gotten out of it. And you'll notice that I tend to stick in the middle of the grid because it seems like he continues to, you know, disappear faster than I can ever even reach him. And I eventually figure out that that's kind of what the gimmick is, and, you know, my results are a little better. But holy shit, how bad would this fight be if Bella just ran out of PP?
As you said, straight up unwinnable. I imagine that's part of why banishment is so cheap in terms of its PP usage.
I bet in a beta run of this game, PP, or the banish action was like 5 PP, and they just figured out nobody could do it, so they decided they'd rather just not make it easier, or make it more fun, or more intuitive. They'd rather just make it cheaper so you can eventually get there, all other things being equal. Eventually, you know, I figured out that Bella was kind of my bottleneck here, so I just have everybody else defend to get their turn faster.
Yeah, that's really the correct answer in this situation.
I mean, look at her. She's not happy about it either.
Neither's Alex.
What the hell was that thing? Why did we have to kill it? And what is going on?
I'm not sure if we're talking about the original Soul Survivor or the Golden Alpaca now.
Well, you and Rory talked in riddles and ignored my question.
10 minutes, but who's counting?
This is
Yeah.
insane. What is a Soul Survivor?
Calm down, Alex. I'll explain it now. I haven't been intentionally leaving you in the dark, so don't act like I'm some anime character.
Well, that's an interesting line because it being the 90s, I guess the anime was still
Congrats,
pretty
Alex. Michael's taking
pretty
this
well
back.
out of the mainstream outside of
By
maybe
now you've
Sailor
seen
Moon
enough
and
visual proof that what
original
I'm
Dragon
going
Ball.
to tell you isn't a lie.
And like Yu Yu Hakusho and the stuff that showed
you
up
to
on
understand
Toonami,
that I
right?
don't
But that's
have
really about it.
eyelids. I can only say
Yeah,
what
Yu Yu
I know
Hakusho I don't even
from
think
my
was until
experience.
the mid-2000s,
Get it.
so...
Spit it out already, Bella.
Maybe.
And at that point, I don't
What you
think
just
anime
saw
got its
was a
reputation
soul
for
survivor,
denseness
or an
and
entity. Both names are
uh,
acceptable.
over-reliance on
These
proper
beings are a
nouns
visual
until much
representation
later,
of a
so
soul that
it's a bit
has
of a
escaped
weird
from its
comment to
body.
make.
You see, it is entirely possible for a human being to separate their soul from their body. In
Anyway,
doing so,
remember
you
how
leave
we were
behind
saying
the
before that
physical
this game
form,
just
and
sort
more
of
often,
feels
you
like a
can't retrieve it.
2018 game, even though it's
separation of
nominally
mind,
set in the
or
90s?
soul, if you
That
will,
anime
from the
character
body
reference, that's
can
one
only
of the
be
reasons I
achieved
say
by
that.
accepting an existence
Pretty
of a
much.
non-physical nature. A human usually stumbles on this facet of reality.
It's
after
like, dear God,
undergoing a transformation
our
of
core
the
audience
nature.
grew up in the 90s,
In Rory's case,
but instead
it was
of
the
making
loss of
references to
physical
90s
definition
things,
towards
let's
exchanging
make
its
references to
physical nature
modern
for
things that
metaphysical.
they'll remember.
This is where things
It's,
are about to get strange, so please bear
It's
with me.
one of those cases where
Our
their
souls
aesthetic
do
is
not
kind of at a
belong
cross
to
purposes
ourselves.
with
In the traditional
how they're
sense
trying
of
to
we
reach out to
belong.
their audience.
Our souls
And
are
it's a
shared
good
by
aesthetic, that's why
otherworldly
it's
versions
frustrating
of
to
you,
me.
Yeah.
This
and
could
everyone else.
genuinely look nice
There is
if,
an Alex out there. In another world,
you know, if they actually
who
spent
has
some
the
time
same soul,
developing
but
it, like
different life
smoothing
experiences.
out those rough edges,
A soul survivor
and really
is a soul
making
that
use
has
of this
left his
solid
physical
color
form,
palette they're working
as well
with.
as his reality, and entered
With
into
that
a
in
world
mind,
where a physical version
have
of his
you
or her soul
had a chance to
already
play
exists.
Hypnospace Outlaw yet?
Normally, when you abandon your
No,
physical
but that
form,
sounds like a
you
very,
become
very
an omnipotent
Japanese
entity
game.
who exists
I
just in
don't
your own
believe it
reality.
is. I believe it's
can't
actually a
return to your body
Western-developed
once you've left it behind.
visual novel.
Soul
And it's
survivors are
about going
souls
into
whose realities have
a fictional
destroyed,
90s era
and they
internet
manage to leave their
that's
reality
that's
and hope of
actually
finding a physical
functions on the
form.
basis of when you go to sleep
so that
you access
being
it,
right there
hence
is
Hypnospace.
Rory, a different
I see.
Rory, one whose
And you're
reality
basically a
was
forum
destroyed, and
moderator
he's
who
attempted to
goes
find a
onto
physical
various
reality
sites
to
on
exist in.
behalf of this company that runs
But how do you
Hypnospace
know
and
all
just,
this?
you know, gets rid of
Because
harassers and excises copyrighted
I
material
have
and stuff
left
like
my
that.
physical
And it does a
body,
really good
surfed,
job of
and
creating a
explored the
pastiche
soul
of
space,
90s era
and come to
internet.
understand the nature of the universe.
This could absolutely be also
you
an anime,
have a
and I wouldn't
physical
blink an
form.
eye.
How did you return to your body when you say it isn't
They're
possible?
actually talking about what soul survivors
This
are,
is
and
not my reality, Alex.
big surprise if you
There
have
was
two of
another
the
me
same
here,
person
and she
in
left.
the same universe,
I
bad
was
shit
able to take
happens,
her physical
and
space
that's what a
because
soul
her
survivor
soul had
is.
already
And
left
Vela,
this world.
part of her traumatic
And
experience is the fact
what
that
is
she
the
actually
soul
crossed
space?
over from a parallel
The
universe.
soul space is
Yes, this Vela is not the
How do I
Vela
explain
of this
this?
universe, which
Okay.
they actually do
Imagine a ring.
mention as far as like
in this ring
the
is a
bit about
series of
blowing
worlds.
shit up with her brain.
When one world is destroyed,
That's
the
part
soul
of where that
space
comes in,
shrinks
because that
and
was
the ring
actually a
gets
Vela
smaller.
from a different verse.
When a soul leaves their location in the soul space, another soul of the same origin.
I admit I may have missed a
Another me
detail or
can take
two,
its
but
place
I
and regain
absolutely
physical
don't
form.
regret it because I got to talk about Hypnospace Outlaw.
How
You
did
didn't miss
figure
much.
all this out?
That's personal. Look, what leads people to find the soul space is different for each person, and I'm not going to share that with you.
Which is completely fair because everything we've seen
all
so far
fine and
indicates
shit,
that
but it doesn't bring
having
my
a
sister
traumatic
back.
experience
Soul
that makes you
space,
want to die is
lines,
what makes you find the
realities,
soul
all that
space.
Pretty
shit.
much.
Who even cares?
But of course,
Rory,
Alex has figured it
it's
out
okay.
too because
Take
he's
a
the
deep
main
breath with
character.
me.
He's just that
Cut it
special.
with the
Yeah,
deep
in his
breaths.
case,
This
it
isn't
seems
okay.
like it was less a traumatic
Let's
experience
get
that
out of
happened to
this
him
here.
and more something
can
that he
explain this
he was
better
just
in
kind of
fresh air.
incidentally there for.
Yeah, it's very much talking of anime tropes. He's very much the ordinary high school student who just gets
We hear
roped
a faint
stupid shit,
electrical
but is somehow the
crackling,
main character,
and a hint
right?
of life
Right.
crosses behind the eyes of the sleeping figure.
Oh, these people are
But
back.
as soon
Yeah.
as it appears, it fades imperceptibly
I love
to a
these
flicker.
people. I loved
We
how I
confine
didn't
our
get
thoughts
anything
on
out
the
of this.
machine And decide that there is
Also,
activity
C-3PO's
inside
in the
of its
background now.
circuits. We refrain from referring
Well,
to it
good for
as
him, though he seems to
alive,
be missing his
as
head.
logic and science dictate that this is only an emulation of life. This creature has no feelings, no desires, no wants.
And just like that, they're gone.
The following week or so,
It's not the best transition to these scenes.
Felon's words buzzed in my ears.
Writers,
like a bee hovering around.
this
my
is
head.
really something that should just be thrown to the wayside.
Waiting
This
for
is
its
real
full
bad. This entire game could
On my bedroom
literally,
window,
you could
see
just
blooming
take out
green
those
leaves of
bits
summer
and you
popping
don't
up here
lose
and there in
anything.
the
I would
rolling
argue that the game would be
sturdies.
better without them.
Their branches reaching up to the sky like magic ropes.
Talking of things that this game would be better off without,
Michael,
Alex
Vela,
gets
or
into
Rory
purple
in almost
prose.
8 days.
It's a curse with
Michael
him,
was stuck
man.
in his house, pretending to study for finals. And taking her cue from the other women in my life, Vela vanished.
I wonder
I'd gone
why,
confronting her,
you
hoping to
jerk.
see her each day.
It's not like literally every lady that you've come
I spoke
across
with
in
the
this
manager,
game thus
Green
far
Man,
has thought
about
you were
Vela
a
and
horrible
Sammy,
jackass.
But he offered
And,
very little
you know,
information.
is certainly justified in
She said
that
she needed to take
thinking
some time
given
off,
the
so I gave
way
it
you
to her.
casually insult them.
Oh, thank you. See you later, jackass. I hadn't spoken with
Hey,
Rory
did you
since
notice that
night.
this thing had smart quotes on for all
As
the
soon as we got
quotes?
out, Vela went into depth on her
I just
soul
noticed that.
survivors and
Yeah.
metaphysics. And he ran off saying he needed to clear his head. And just like that, all alone again. I listened to cassette tapes of old music. Callum Bowen, Nico Sekalakos, Andrew Allenson.
You and I are both music nerds, right? Have you
Yes.
heard of any of those people?
I'm pretty sure Andrew Allenson's the composer of this game.
Led by Andrew Allenson. I replayed that night in my head.
I would not
I
be
believe
surprised.
Bella.
Also,
I
he
shouldn't
probably
have.
worked on Two Brothers or something. That game that this game likes to
bullshit.
remind us about all the
But I
time.
had seen the
Presumably.
Soul Survivor with my
And
own eyes.
honestly, if
And
the
I'd seen
soundtrack
Sammy
to that game is
vanish into
anything
the
like
abyss
this
of
one,
what
I
looked
can
like our
certainly
universe.
imagine it
Strong.
to be similarly disjointed without consistent character and occasionally
really, I
experimental
felt like
to the
I did.
point of nonsense.
In the unreal
No, I
twilight
mean, that's the
hours
thing
in
about
between
this game's
sleep and
soundtrack
waking,
that really
she
bugs
slipped
me.
into my dreams, got tangled in my thoughts.
This is gonna sound weird, but like French fries, right?
Right.
Some places have really
Brain
good French
melted
fries,
mind.
or have average French fries, but they're
dreams.
consistent. You know what you're getting,
speak.
right?
Right.
But
dreams,
some
we
places
didn't do
have
much of
really bad
anything.
fries or really fucking good
Feel that
fries.
she was there and that she
In this
understood.
game, soundtrack is kind of like the second
had to
one.
still be
You
out
can
there.
have some genuinely good battle
Out there
music
in
and
soul
stuff, and then
space,
you
maybe.
get you get free-form jazz to Golden Alpaca. Oh, also, I don't know why we came back to the
Okay, so
the
listen up.
sewer just after that.
Since a soul survivor has spent a lot
Oh,
of time down
I
here,
get what that
it's likely we're
was.
going to find
We
some very
literally
strange things.
had to go back to
Let's
his
call
house for the monologue because that is
breaks
just
in reality.
that is just
You may have
a
seen some
facet
before,
of
so
how
relax.
self-centered
Don't
he
freak out
is.
if
He
you see
literally
it.
can't have
Our
this
goal is to get
monologue
outside
while
where we
he's
can
here.
talk
He needs to be at home.
He is literally not allowed to have monologues anywhere else. What my guess is that they're going to pull some multiversey type shit. Like, they're going to say that this Alex that monologues in his room all the time is like casually watching this Alex go through his thing, or, you know, whatever, some kind of horseshit like that, right?
Perhaps.
And that's that's probably what they're going to do.